Today's podcast is brought to you by something positive for a change. Why? Because my parents are here.
Down with Joe DeRosa.
Welcome to Down with Joe DeRosa. One topic, 1 hour, and today we discuss family. Family has always been such a strange and sacred concept to me. Strange because it's a group of people that you're literally born into, so it's a lifelong commitment. Anytime you're born into something, it means for life. Tribes, royalty, or a 5-decade spanning carpet cleaning business, you belong to it and it belongs to you, so you can't shake it. You're stuck with your family whether you like it or not. And trust me on that, they'll always be with you in body and or spirit. Even the people that do their absolute damnedest to cut all ties and kill all contact with their family are still often burdened by the mountainous emotional baggage they carry from their past. Nobody ever thinks about that one degrading boss they had at some office job. You know, the one that pinched your ass and didn't get in trouble for it. That's a fading memory. People barely remember their high school sweetheart or that she dumped you for that football player you couldn't stand. Nope, that's gone from your mind. And nobody ever pays any thought to that past asshole neighbor, you know, the guy that broke one of your windows and then moved away without ever paying for it. Nope, not thinking about it. But none of us will ever forget that thing that our dad or our mom or our aunt or our nana or whoever said at Thanksgiving in 1983 that made us feel so angry and so insecure, it still fuels our every motivation to find success. That's weird. Family sticks with you, but that's what makes it so incredibly sacred to me. I think primarily because I'm adopted. That's why I find it so sacred. Anytime you realize that you came damn close to living out your days in a trash can at a prom, or in a dumpster behind a crab shack, or maybe just on the insides of a medical vacuum cleaner, you start to greatly appreciate the fact that there were people that not only loved you, but actually raised and supported you as well. I know I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for the push my parents and my cousins and my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles gave me. My friends, too. Yeah, they're family. So I guess it's not always something you're born into. Family's something that's perpetually expanding, with new members joining the alumni all the time. Because I don't subscribe to all that blood is thicker than water bullshit. I can't. I literally have no common blood with anybody I know or love. That's one of the stipulations of being adopted. But I don't care, because I know guys I met in comedy clubs within the last 3 years that I'd take a bullet for. And I have cousins, on the other hand, that I've known since I was 0, that I wouldn't let in my house if it was raining outside. So it all evens out. And that's what family's for, keeping you even. Keeping you sane when nothing in the world has any rationale or logic. They're the people that are there for you. And that's why they're the people that haunt you. Because only someone that truly cares about you and understands you knows exactly how to get into your head and start pushing all the right buttons. So, I'd like to now introduce the most topic-appropriate guests we have ever had on this show, my parents. And I usually like to list off my guests' credits when I introduce them, but how do you list off your parents' credits without it sounding like some kind of cold but factual Wikipedia entry? So I'll just simply say these are two people that I don't know how I'd live or function without. They've taught me everything I know. They've inspired me beyond belief, and in my darkest and unlikable moments, I'm talking most unlikable moments, they loved me unconditionally. So the next time one of you angry audience members wants to heckle me because you can't believe my audacity on stage, don't blame me. Blame them. It's their fault for causing me to believe in myself. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good. Sweating.
You
Sweating.
kind of started off with a oxymoron when you said that this was a positive feed today and the subject is family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, you're comfortable already. You thought you were going to be nervous.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I am.
It's easy. This is easy stuff. Just talking. Well, I'm glad you said that, because this is a thing that I deal with when I talk to people. I say, a lot of people say to me, you're negative. I say, I'm not negative. I just see things how I see them and then react to them in what I think is an honest way to react. And they say, well, it's negative. I say, it's not negative. It's just, I prefer to think of it as just seeing things for the actual way they are. But
it's negative.
That's That's where we come from. I mean, we grew up in a very honest household, is what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think a lot of people would say we fight, we argue.
sure.
Well, definitely, we fight, we argue.
Well,
yeah.
first of all, we
It's
have.
like,
First of all, I guess we have to explain that we're an Italian family.
Yeah,
that,
we are.
That should answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's an Italian family, very loud family, right?
a lot goes on, a lot of hot feelings, a lot of heavy feelings that bring out the worst sometimes, and
Right.
cause arguments, right?
But we said now, I think it was about a year ago, we got into some fight about something, and I said to you after, I said, you know what? We have these arguments, and then we have these big makeup sessions where we say
Right.
we got to change, we got to stop the whole thing. And then I said, this is just how we are. It's not a big deal. It's how we talk to each other. We get through it. Nobody ever says, I mean, I'm not saying we don't ever hurt each other when we argue. All people do.
Verbally.
But verbally.
Yes.
Yeah. Nobody's beating.
No,
beating
no
anybody.
physical abuse.
But I mean, there's no name calling and stuff like
Right.
that. It's just loud and abrasive.
Mhm.
And that's why I said to
Yes.
you, like about a year ago, maybe this is just how we are. I'd rather it be that way than, I mean, these people I see that are always
yeah.
smiling and getting along, they freak me out. I don't understand that.
No.
They push everything under the rug. They,
You
they,
have to be
they cover
honest
it up.
with
yeah.
each other.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, as much as we argue and maybe fight back and forth, that we always make up in the end and try to get back on the track again,
Right.
and never have any hurt feelings or resentments or hold grudges with each other. We're always, very loving at the end, a makeup session,
I think the most important thing of that is that we come to understand each other better and respect each other.
Yes, I agree. I
You
grow
know?
from
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to my friends about their parents a lot, and they never understand when I say that I challenge my parents back.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "What do you mean?" Because they'll complain about their parents. They'll say, "Oh, this is just how they are, and I can't deal with it, and so I just don't." And I say, "Well, why don't you just challenge them the way they challenge you?
Mm-hmm.
They love you, so they challenge you. If they
Mhm.
think you're not being the person you should be, you should challenge your parents back." And I always liked that the three of us had that dynamic
Mhm.
where you guys pushed me, and I feel like I maybe pushed you back.
Right.
There's certain
And-
things. I mean, that we watched Dave Attell the other night on HBO, and you were laughing hysterically. I mean, there was a time where if I showed you any kind of comedy of that content, you would have said, "Shut this
Oh, yeah.
off. This offends me."
Turn
Right.
it off.
And you
Yeah.
had a great time
Mhm.
watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I brought to the table, Ernie, with my parents. I got them to like Dave Attell's comedy. They shaped me into a man, and I got them to like. But he is the greatest. So
But,
it's
but I mean, you made us grow
right.
through that too. We came out of our shells, and someone once said, "It's not when I see you on stage. It's not what you do; it's who you are." Okay, and there are things that make my hair curl when I hear you on stage, but then I think that's
Do you remember
hey, he's a great
Yeah.
guy. What can I do?
you
Mhm.
came to see years ago? I opened for Colin Quinn at
Mhm.
Helium, and I remember at the time I was closing with a really, really nasty joke. It was real dirty, sex joke, and
Did you hear me gasp in the audience?
I remember. Well, this is what I remember. I walked off stage. I went into the green room and I said, "Man, I feel bad about that last closer. It's just so dirty." And my parents are sitting out there. And Colin said, "Screw your parents. What about me?" But I remember after that show, you guys came up to me and said that you had a great time, and you were with your best friends. And they said, I remember Mr. Marcello, who's you and the Marcellos are your best friends.
They are, yes.
But Mr. Marcello came up to me and said there was nothing wrong with anything you said up there.
Yeah.
And that's a big moment for a comedian with his
is.
parents and his parents' friends when they
Yeah.
say it's okay, we accepted it.
If that's true, how come they never came to see you again?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They came
Okay.
again.
They
Yeah.
were there again.
Okay.
They came another time without
That
you
was-
guys. I think you guys were living in Florida or something.
Oh, wow.
And I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. You
We
weren't there though.
probably were in Florida.
They came alone and sat right in the front row. And again, we're really supportive. But that's, an extension of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know who you are deep inside. They know the man that you are and the good person you are inside. And this is part of your talent, that you can make people laugh, and the way you do it, and it's really a good thing.
Well, thanks.
So,
I should bring you on stage before every show to tell the people I'm a good person. Well, I mean, and we, this is the thing I want to, translate to the audience before we get too deep into this. My parents and I come from we have very different outlooks on things. I come from a very religious family. My dad is a deacon in the Catholic Church, which for those that don't understand or realize what that is, it's one step below priest. Literally one step below priest. In fact, Dad, you've said to me before, if Mom passed away, you would consider going all the way and becoming a priest. You've said that to me, which you're right there. I mean, whether you do or not is whatever, but that's just how close you are to it, that you could go couple more steps and you're right there.
We could, yes.
Theoretically, right?
Theoretically, yes.
My mom is also religious. Was a Eucharistic minister, which means she's one of the people that would give out the communion in the church, body of Christ, that sort of thing. And also pretty religious. You've been married for 44 years. Friday it was, right?
Friday, 44 years, yes.
44 years. You were each other's first loves. Basically, right? Dad was your second. Mine. Your first.
She was my first love, yeah.
Your first love?
Right, yeah.
Right. And then you had a boyfriend before Dad.
Yeah.
But only one, right?
One.
So, you're pretty, this is pretty much the first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, here you are, two religious people,
Mm-hmm.
had basically the same, stayed in the same profession your whole lives. Very routine, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Basically the same age, about a year apart, not even, right?
I robbed the cradle.
Yeah, Mom's 6 months older. Yeah.
6 months older, right?
Yeah.
And very traditional background and whatnot. And then, obviously I'm not a big believer when it comes to faith and God and that sort of thing. I'm not a religious guy by any stretch. I don't date age-appropriate women most of the time. I usually date legally younger, and I've never been married or in love or in a long-term monogamous thing. So right off the bat, we're very different people. And then also my career path, Dad, you worked how long were you at your job for?
37 years.
37 years. It was a company, Sperry Univac, that created the first computer. That's always a fun fact to tell people. My dad worked at the company, created the first computer. Right?
Right.
And you 37 years. And Mom, how long were you doing administrative stuff for? I mean,
oh my goodness, that's all I ever did. The only time I ever took off from work, from high school, was when you were born, and I stayed home to raise you.
Right.
And then when you went into 8th grade, I figured I could trust you enough to leave you on your own, and that's when I went back to work.
Right.
And I've been working ever since as administrative assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was always administrative.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I've had a career path that zigzagged all over the place. I mean, before I even did comedy, I had 800 different jobs and fired from a couple of them, right? Mm-hmm. So my point is I say this, here we are, very different people, which I think is great. I think it's great because I think a lot of the time when the contrast is so great between what the children do and what the parents do, there's fallout. I say that about a lot of people that live out here in LA. I say these people come out here because a lot of them don't care that they're across the country from their parents. There's a level of selfishness out here where they say, I don't care about my family anymore. I just care about me. Why don't you care about your family? Well, they're, they don't get it and they're different from me and they don't understand. I don't feel that way. I enjoy the challenge of the contrast. I enjoy that we come from different places. And I also enjoy that it doesn't shut us down with one another. That we can have these big debates about lifestyle choices and whatever road any one of us is going down and agree or disagree or whatever it is, right? And it's not always that you two against me or me against you two. No. Sometimes me and Mom disagree with you. Sometimes you and me disagree with Mom.
Right.
Right?
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And I think that's healthy. I don't think you see enough of that anymore. I think people kind of want it to be, like I said earlier, the tribe, you know? They want everybody to kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, get together, be one, you know, everybody be unified together, and you can't do that in a family. You can be a family, but yet you still have your diversity, you know? And it's that diversity that brings commonality between the people of the family.
Right. Well, and that's a philosophy that you've always brought, because my dad, as I said, is a deacon in the church, which means on Sundays he does preach.
Yes, I do.
He'll do it's called the homily in the Catholic Mass. And that's one of the things I always liked, that you bring, I feel, a broader perspective to that. You bring, you know, what you just said, you know, it's a broad perspective, especially in a lot of church environments where the concept is usually these are the rules and that's it.
Right.
And I like that you bring these sort of broader life philosophies into it.
Try to bring you know, make people feel alive in their faith and lead them in the right direction, you know. That's a difficult thing to do, but you can see it, you know, as you go on, as you do preach, you do talk, okay, about God and religion and our religion, how people come to you, okay, and they say, wow, I never thought about it that way before. I never thought about it this way before. You made something come real to me. You made it come alive to me, you know, and I never thought like that before.
Right.
So there is something, you know, that you do, and people see for it, you know, they get excited, and their religion grows, you know, their faith grows in their religion, you know, so it's a good thing.
Which is the goal.
It's a goal. It's a good goal.
Well, yeah, and that's similar to the goal we're talking about with family.
Right.
When you broaden up the perspective a bit, and it then invites more people in, you know what I mean? Or more types of people, more types of thinking, and it inspires everybody to grow. Us knocking heads with things never wanted me to shut it down. It inspired me to try to understand. You see what I mean?
And grow as a person, too. We never want to confine you, right? We always said, let them go and let's try to find your way, you know? And, you know, we try to raise you in the Catholic faith for what? We sent you to 12 years of school. And we said to Mom and I said to each other, once we get them to this point, and I try to tell other people the same way too, that their children have to, once they get to a certain age, have to find their own way in life, you know. And you try to lead them and guide them. You hope they'll grow that way. But if they go a little off, okay, fine. You have to let them go, let them grow, you know.
People can't believe that when I tell them that you've said that to me.
Yeah.
I'll say, my dad's a deacon. They'll go, oh, my God. I'll say, no, it's not what you think. He's, you know, I would define it as righteous.
But I still pray for you every day.
Well, I know you do, but that's okay.
We both do, yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, you know, that's your
That's what we
that's
believe
your
in,
belief.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I'm not offended by that.
We pray for your well-being, you know, and that you keep, that the Lord will keep you safe and healthy, and, you know, and that you keep finding your way and you keep making a living at whatever you're going to choose to do.
Well,
right?
well, but when I tell people, though, I say my parents are religious, my dad's a deacon, and they've said to me, find your own way. This is our way. It doesn't have to be yours. They can't believe it. They can't because people that, I don't know. I guess just traditionally, people that come from a certain religious perspective don't think that way. You know what I mean? And say, no, this is the right way that we're doing, and you have to do it this way too. We did a podcast 2 weeks ago about morality, and that was the whole discussion was, you know, I know what's right and wrong in my life, but does that mean I'm allowed to apply that to other people? And that's why morality is so tough and such a complicated issue, because I don't think I'm right to tell other people how to live, but if I don't think I'm supposed to be telling other people how to live, then what worth does my morality really have? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But that all being said, it's the same thing with this religious stuff. You know, I think it's astounding that you guys are so religious yet condone the other way. I really do.
Well,
honestly.
we've brought you up being taught right from wrong.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not just saying this because you're here in front of me, but you have grown up to be a very great human being.
Well, it's arguable.
No, you
Put you on stage too. Watch.
No, you care for people, okay, and that's the most important thing.
I think that to let you grow as a human being, you know, no matter, we try to lead you in the right direction, but at a certain point, you have to find your own way, okay? You know, you go, if you want to continue in this vein, the way we've taught you, fine. But if you want to go a little bit this way to it, you know, you got to find your own way with your own personality with God, you know, how you relate with God, your own way. Okay.
Well, I always appreciated too, though, that you said that you and Mom have said to me, we found our way. You have to find yours.
Mhm.
You go on your path, and whatever works for you is whatever works for you. I tell that to people. They're in disbelief
Right.
because they know your background as religious people and everything. And honestly, the fact that you give me that blessing, you just said with God.
Mhm.
You know that I kind of move without God
Mhm.
a lot. And you still aren't pointing a finger at me and saying you're going to burn in hell or anything like that.
Mhm.
Which, and we don't want to get too into the religious stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about religion. It's about the fact that I find you to be too open-minded and accepting people.
Open-minded.
You know what I mean? So, and that's great, even though we have such different
Right.
beliefs about things. But look, it's not all perfect. We do argue, as we said before. And I think you, Mom, came from a loud
Very loud family.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Yes.
it like day to day? Was it always?
It was horrible. I was not, even though I was born and raised in that family, for some reason that just did not click with me.
Right.
And that was one of the things that really attracted me to your father was his quietness.
Right.
Okay. Because it was not only loud, positively, but it was loud negatively too.
Right.
A lot of, verbal abuse.
Right.
There was, I don't know if I could say this, but there was some physical abuse.
You could say that.
Okay. And so I was, my brother and I I don't know the words to use, but we were brought up in a very negative way.
I remember because your father, Pop, as I called him, he lived with us for the first, I don't know, what was it, 6 years of my life or something like that?
Yes.
Till I was in second grade.
Yeah.
And I remember the way you guys used to fight.
Yeah.
I remember the way he would yell about Dad.
Yeah.
And I remember the way he would be, which was tough because when you're a kid, you idolize your grandfather.
Right.
And I remember you saying to me sometimes, you don't understand.
Right.
You don't understand when you're older, you'll
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Now I'm older and I do understand.
Right. And to bring that situation into the house, I think if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would, but being brought up as an Italian child who was taught to respect and honor their parents.
Right.
As you know, Papa had cancer, and it was my duty. I thought at the time that it was my duty to take care of him as his only daughter, no matter what the repercussions would have been. Okay, with him coming in to live with us.
And do you feel like there were permanent repercussions from him living with you?
Living
With the family? I mean, do you feel like to this day you say, had he not lived with us, I wouldn't feel this certain way right now at this time or whatever?
Definitely.
It was an all affecting thing.
Yeah, definitely.
definitely
Look
was.
at the house that we lived in.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I have no good memories in that house.
The blue house that we used to live in.
Yeah,
I
the blue
have
house.
no good memories in that house, and I had no problem moving from it because of the situation that was in the house at the time.
You know, it's funny
Okay.
because I grew up in that house.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched that Billy Crystal 700 Sundays special on HBO, where it's the backdrop on the stage is a facade of the house he grew up in, and he talks. The whole show's about that house and what he experienced in it and everything. And now that we're talking about this, I couldn't write a one-man show about that house if you paid me $1 million to do it. I don't have any good memories. I'm not saying I have bad memories, but maybe they are suppressed bad memories.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think back and long for that house. In fact, I associate it with a great amount of depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my
Mhm.
memories of that house are very gray.
Mhm.
I can't imagine a lot of sunny times, literally sunny. Like when I think of it, I don't picture sunny weather. I
Right.
picture gloomy, the trees being dead. I say to people all the time, I remember as early as being in third grade, not having the words or understanding or knowledge to realize what I was feeling at the time. Later, I realized what I was feeling was I need to get out of here. I want to go explore other cities or places or whatever. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. And I remember literally as young as third grade, sitting out on that lawn on the side of the house and just feeling hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
Hopeless.
Because of that, the situation,
Yeah.
It was tense.
And again, to back up to what we were saying about fighting and loving each other and everything, I loved my father with all my heart.
Right.
I really did. Unfortunately, he has passed away, and I still do. But it's hard to love somebody who gives you that kind of stuff in your life, but you do love them. I loved them,
We talked about this I was on a radio thing, and we were talking about anger management and that sort of stuff. And I talked a lot about Pop-Up. And I said, when I got older, into my 20s, I started to realize that with my temper, I was going down a road that I saw my grandfather go down. And I knew that was bad because my grandfather died without a friend. And I always tell that story about when he was friends with Sam, the janitor from my grade school, and they would fish together. They were fishing friends, and then Sam brought him the fish, and Pop-Up was like, "These fish are lousy. Why would you bring me these?" He said, "Well, I caught them. I thought you want some." He said, "I don't want them. This is crap, whatever." And then Sam said, "Forget it," and walked off, and they never spoke again. And that was literally his last friend. And he died a year later or whatever it was. Pop-Up died a year later. So that's for the audience, that's the kind of person. He really liked to push people away, which, it's funny because in this day and age, if you met somebody like that, there'd be all kinds of therapy studies and psychological things you could discuss and say, well, you're suppressing this and you're running from that and you're afraid of this. But back then, some Italian immigrant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That came over here in the what year did he come here?
He was born here.
He was? I thought he immigrated here.
No, he was born here. He was the last.
My father came here.
Yeah.
He
was the last. He was the last of the 10 kids to be born here. Most of his brothers and sisters were born in Italy and came over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but he was born here.
Coming from a family of immigrants.
Right.
Right.
I mean, he didn't speak English till he was in his teens.
Right.
So.
I mean, that was the way back then. There was no discussing anything, especially with a man.
Yeah.
It was just, you push it deep down. I always say that's why marriages lasted in the, people go, marriage. It's like, well, marriage lasted in the 50s because you shoved everything down. You know what I mean? If you caught your husband banging his best guy friend, you know what I mean? He'd be like, you tell anybody about this, I'll kill you. And then the wife would go, all right, I'll just go make brownies. And that'd be, just keep going. You know what I mean? That was it. But nowadays it's a different. I always wonder what Pop-Up would have been like if he lived now.
Yeah.
Same upbringing, but if he lived now, he might be a little different. I don't know. Possibly. But here's what's so interesting to me. You come from this background. Both of you are very affectionate people. You're very loving people, which is not that strange for a mom. It's a little more odd for a dad to be affectionate and sensitive. But you are, Dad.
Yeah.
A lot of my guy friends, especially the guys from Boston, they say they can't believe that, like, oh, you hug your dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I say, well, it's funny you say that. The only reason I hug my dad every time I see him is because he came from a family where his dad never hugged him.
Right.
When he went off to Vietnam, his dad shook his hand and said, "Come back safe." Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
see you soon and have a good,
yeah, have a good time.
Have a good time. Never said I. Just be safe, he says, and keep well. Shook my hand, said, I'll see you.
And that's where you came from. Your family, your upbringing wasn't loud at all. It was painfully quiet. No, because now here's the thing. Mom comes from this loud, it's abusive, it's screaming, it's yelling. But you probably hugged and kissed your parents.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit. Dad, you never once hugged. I mean, I didn't hug Granddad till he was literally unconscious on his deathbed.
Well,
he was literally unconscious, dying. That was the first time I ever hugged him because he didn't know I was hugging him because I knew I was never going to see him again.
I think it was when, the first time I gave him a hug and a kiss was when I was ordained, And I remember this, like he was wearing, in the church service, he was wearing a light gray suit. And he had all these, like, marks on where his tears were staining his jacket, And I gave him a hug and a kiss, And And from that time on, every time I saw him, I gave him a hug and a kiss. And I realized he was my father, and I have to. That's the way you should treat your father, with love and respect.
Right.
And that's why I try to do it to you. To give you a hug and a kiss every time
Right.
we get together, we part.
Right.
So I did that. I never did that with our father, right?
Yeah, he would have slapped you in the face.
Forget it. No, but my own father, I did that, and like you said, he did come down with cancer and suffered a lot, and it got down to the end, and I'm glad I did that, because otherwise I would have missed that opportunity to show him the love I had for him.
It was,
yeah.
Go ahead, Mom.
I was just going to say, with all this talk and everything, we really should lighten this up a little bit and say that families are a lot of fun too.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We have to do the setup. This is the setup to me. This is where the fun comes
I mean,
from.
right now I feel like we're the Addams family,
No. This is great, because this is what lays the foundation for the good stuff, I think.
Yeah. Let me go back to that house a minute, all right? With that house we're talking about, she hated it, right? Every time I drive by it, I miss it, okay? Because of, all the work I did in that house, okay?
Of course.
And I think what it was is that all the arguments and stuff that was going on, the bad stuff, me being involved with doing things, fixing things, all the work I did, took my mind off of that and gave me good feelings, right?
Right.
And helped me cover up the bad stuff,
Yeah.
So, and that's why I say every time I drive by it now, I miss it, It's just, what do you miss it for? There's so much, terror and turmoil went on in there. I said, well, because look at it. Look, I can still see things I did.
Yeah. I know. I
The
can
trees,
imagine.
look at the little trees we planted. They were this big, 6 inches. We planted. They're monster trees now, right? We did all that. All the times we had riding a lawnmower together out back, right?
I know.
So that's all the times I miss,
That's one of the good memories I have, was cutting the grass there.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
riding the riding mower. I always liked doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like there's, it's misery,
Yeah, doom and
like
gloom.
cobwebs on it. Yeah. I had some good memories. I remember when I turned 21, Jim, we had a pool in the backyard that actually Papa put in with his money, to get rid of his money before he died. He gave us a pool. So he wasn't, he did do nice things. I don't want to paint him out to just be a monster, but we had that pool when I turned 21. I remember my friend Jim came over, and we got so drunk that he passed out in the pool. I mean, thank God he's not dead. So that's a good memory. With seeing him pass out in the pool, I thought that was funny. With Granddad, with your Dad, I thought that was interesting, because I remember I went to hug him once. Because everybody, your brother, my Uncle John, who's also gone now, sadly, and so is your brother, Mom, Uncle Tony. I mean, so many people are gone. But anyway, he was also very affectionate. I always hugged and kissed Uncle John every time I saw him. And again, I think that was his own retaliation to his father not doing that with him.
Yeah.
And I remember once we were leaving Nana and Granddad's house, and I got up and just by habit, I kissed and hugged Aunt Sammy, and I hugged and kissed Nana, and I hugged and kissed Uncle John, and then I just went to hug and kiss Granddad because I wasn't thinking, I guess, and he stopped me. He said, "No,
Yeah.
you don't do that. You do that with the women. You don't do that with the men."
Yep.
And I said, "Okay," and then that was it. Literally, I never ever tried to hug him again until he was on his deathbed, because I thought, this is it. I'm not going to see the guy.
He never thought that was a manly thing to do. That's the mentality that these guys were raised with.
Right.
In a male-dominated society that they grew up with their fathers and everything. And I never saw them hug and kiss each other. It's always with grandmoms. But when we visited grandmom and grandpops, we always hugged and kissed grandpop. As children.
Did you ever? Now, I also never saw. Mom, your mom died before I was born.
Oh, yeah, way before, yeah.
So I never saw Pop Up with a woman at all.
No.
He was remarried. What'd you say? Maybe that's what he needed?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there weren't a lot of women in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. That's one of the reasons I left. Did you ever? But I never saw Pop Up interact with a woman in that sense. Nana and Granddad were together for many years before he passed away. I never saw them affectionate with each other. I never once saw Granddad and Nana holding hands. I never saw them kiss, hug. I mean, maybe if they took a picture, he put his arm around her. But I don't think I ever saw them be affected. Did you ever see them be like lovey-dovey or fun?
Well, at the times, like with their anniversaries or something, I guess when they were dancing with one another, they would give, them a little peck and a, kiss type of thing that way. But no, not at all. No, no.
So
Yeah,
We did pretty good.
we did do pretty good
yeah. Well,
because from these backgrounds comes, as I already said, a retaliation. Mom, you say I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be abusive with my kids. I'm not going to kick their dreams out. Because I remember that's one last thing about on your side of it. I remember you telling me. I tell people this story. They look like they're going to cry. I said my mom had tickets to see the Beatles, and her father wouldn't let her go. I mean, that's like, Jesus God, that's like meeting the president or something. You know what I mean? Like that's. That breaks my heart to think about that. He wouldn't let you travel.
Nope.
You wanted to go to Europe with your friends after college or high school. After
graduation, all my girlfriends took a trip to Europe, and no way was I allowed to go. No decent, respectable girl would do that.
Yeah.
That's how I was brought up.
You were never that way with me. I was taking trips as young as 15.
Mm-hmm.
I would go away with my friends in the summertime because my friend Scott that I grew up with was like 2 years older, so he was able to drive and stuff. And we would go, we get in his car, we go down to Virginia Beach for the week. I mean, that's far when you're 15, it's a 7-hour drive. It's not.
How come we never knew about that?
Yeah, it's the first time I'm hearing about this too.
No, you would.
No, I remember hearing about the wild horses and everything that you went to see down there in Virginia.
The wild horses?
Yeah, the wild horses, There's a breed of horses that run wild down there in.
Is that what we called it?
North Carolina, whatever.
Was that the whiskey?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember you always let me do that stuff. You let me travel.
Yeah.
You were always.
But I made you call me every day.
Yeah, you made me call you and everything like that. But I remember when I was in 11th grade or 12th grade or whatever, and I said I want to be in a band. You guys bought me a guitar. You bought me drums. When I was in 10th grade, you bought me turntables and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was in 8th grade, because I got into rap music and everything. When I got into comedy, you were incredibly supportive about that. Never once did you say that's a stupid dream or you shouldn't do that or why don't you be like a decent kid? And there was none of that. And
a couple of times I said, "Can't you get a 9-to-5 job?"
Yeah, when I was asking for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I understand. I mean, look, kidding aside, there were times where you said to me, "Why don't you get a job?" And there were times where I got mad at you about it. But in retrospect, I realized that wasn't you saying, "I don't believe in you." That's you saying, "I'm worried. Are you going to be okay?"
Right.
Right. Do you have enough money?
Right.
Like, do you, I just want you to be healthy and alive and whatever.
Right.
So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But these are now the positives. We established what some of the negatives were. These are the positives that come from it. You retaliated against what the things you didn't like.
Right.
And then you showed me a whole different side of things. We
were kind of forced in a direction to do things, And, with me too, like Granddad always said, you have to go to, to college to become something, and you have to do this. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go to a trade school, be a carpenter, something like that. Granddad says I have to go to college. Okay, fine. But that's why, we wanted you to go to college. Fine. You chose to go to college. That was great, And
you didn't explain the loans to me.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was if you knew about that, you would have said, forget it, right? No.
I still remember when I graduated and Mom said, "Who do you think's going to pay these loans?" I said, "I thought you guys were paying." What are you talking about?
Right.
You said, "What did you think you were signing at the bank every August?"
Yeah.
I said, "I don't know. I was high the whole time."
Well, thank God you chose to go that way. So it gave you good experience, gave you good background for what you do now.
Right.
And you found your way. That's what we said. We let you go to find your way of doing things, okay?
Right.
And that's what, we were forced into doing things we didn't like that, so that's why we let you go
Mhm.
the way you
I
went.
was
Yeah,
not.
you know.
I was not offered college after
know.
high school because my parents thought, no, girls don't go to college. Only the men do, and girls become nurses and teachers. That's it.
Did your mom think that too? Or did she just go with it because your dad?
Oh, I think she thought that too. I think she thought
But
that
do you
too,
think-
but not as deeply as my father did.
You don't
you
think
know?
she thought it out of fear of your father?
No, I don't think so. I
No?
think that was just a way of thinking back then.
Right, I understand.
You know.
And your dad
Yeah.
pushed you to go to school. Do you think
Yeah.
if Nana and Granddad had a daughter, they would have pushed her to go to school?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think they would have forbade it?
No, they wouldn't have done it. I think they would have let her do her own thing, go whichever way you want to go. You know,
Right.
I think they would have. She said she wanted to go to college. They would have let her go. She said she wanted to go, become a cook or something. They would have let her go become a cook.
Right.
But I
understand.
think for the boys, it was a different story. That we had to do certain things. My father wanted to see his sons excel something, so that's why the path went to college, do the college route, and he himself did a lot of stuff, he graduated from Drexel with a degree of electrical engineering. That wasn't enough. He went to the Wharton School of Business, got a degree in accounting. So this was all like at nighttime. He did all this, right?
Right.
So, and this is so that's why he said the guys have to go this path, have
Right.
to go to college, have to learn to
Right.
do something and get a good profession,
Did you find that there were, before I ask that, that's the thing that I love to think about and talk about was the sort of mentality of, I only say the father because back then it was usually the father bringing home the bacon, right?
Oh, yeah.
But,
My mother never worked.
No,
Right,
he did
yeah.
fine.
this is how it was. But I was talking to my friend Giannis Pappas, who's a really funny comic about this. And I said, we're so entitled. We were talking about comedy and, the lifestyle of comedy, and you get off stage and you want to have a drink and then you want to chase after girls. You want to do this and that. And I said, yeah, it's terrible. We're so entitled. We think we deserve that stage high to keep going. So we get off stage and we try to prolong it for as long as we can with booze or whatever it is. And I said, our fathers weren't entitled like that. Our fathers, I said, look, we were pretty broke at times when I was growing up. I didn't know how broke we were. We had some sad Christmases. There were definitely some Christmases where you were just like, look, it's not going to be much in the tree this year. Other than that, I didn't know we were broke because you never showed that to me.
Mhm.
And that came from your fathers and their mentality and everything. It was like, you don't let your kids see you sweat. You don't let your family see you sweat. You go to school at night. You take the extra job. You keep your mouth shut. That's it. And that's incredible to me because I wear my panic on my sleeve at all times. And it's just a different, I really think it's an entitlement that my generation and the younger ones all have that the older generations didn't have. There was a greater sense of duty back then.
Yeah.
And they were there to serve the family. That was their legacy. We're all here to serve our careers and ourselves, and family comes second to that. You know what I mean? First, it's I need to establish this, and I need to establish me, and I got to make this much money, and I got to have this, and I got to have that, and I can't settle down now because that's going to slow me down. Whereas back then, it was I'm going to have a family, and then I'm going to figure out how to service them. After the fact, which
What I see now, it's like a 3-people world. It's me, myself, and I.
right,
That's what I see right now. And it's this thing, like you just, I think, hit the nail on the head with this word entitlement. Everybody thinks they're entitled to something in this world. And, you have to work for it. Okay?
right,
You go to work for it. Somehow you have to work for all these things you want.
right.
And, that's why I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. And, you're working for the things that you want. Okay,
Well,
in
that's
this life,
nice.
Yeah.
But I don't get me wrong. I am
Yeah.
entitled and I whine
Yeah.
the whole time. That's what I'm saying. I don't like that I do that.
Yeah.
I have to sit here half the time and go, what? I remember we were on, I was on Opie and Anthony one day, and they had Ricky Gervais in as a guest. Now, he's obviously wildly successful. So a lot of people would hear the story and say, well, of course he could say that. But I thought it was really profound when he talked about his father, and he said, my father used to wake up at 7, or he used to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and he'd start work at 6 or 7 a.m., and he wouldn't come home till 7 p.m. I forget what he did in England, dock worker or bricklaying or something, real intensive labor, you know? And he said, and that was it. And he said he did that until he died. And that was it. That was his life. And he was a happy man. And he said, we mustn't ever complain. Look at what we're doing right now. We're in a radio station. We go on stage. We do this. We can't complain about it. And I really try to remember that, you know, it's, you know, what am I complaining about? You know, it's, you know, this is what we're doing here is part of a job for me. It's ridiculous. You know, it should be a crime. You know what I mean? But here we are. Yet I still find ways to get pissed off about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think back to when I was a kid and you were working 40 hours a week at UNIVAC and putting in overtime. And then there were times where you had a second job at night.
Yeah.
And never once did you bitch. Well, at least to me. I mean, maybe to you.
Yeah, to me a little bit.
To make the ends meet, sure.
But
you have to do some
you have
things,
to, you know, and we were firm believers of the moms staying home raising the kids. So,
Yeah.
you know, what we could afford, we could, and what we couldn't, we didn't.
Yeah, and I was
So-
fortunate.
But
yeah.
and also, Mom, but with you too, you know, because you were a working mom,
Yeah.
except for those few years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You went and worked, and you know, administrative assistant. It's not a glamorous position. Shit rolls downhill. You know, you have to digest a lot. You have to stomach a lot. You have to deal with a lot. I won't name the company or where and when.
Thank you.
But I remember you telling me once about like a sort of sexual harassment kind of thing where guys were being, there was a guy at your office that was being really inappropriate toward you and some of the other women that worked there. And that was before, this is pre-Clarence Thomas. There was no, what'd you do? That was it. You just go, this asshole at work. That's what it
Right.
was back then.
Right.
It wasn't a lawsuit. It was
No.
just, there's an asshole at work.
No. Yeah.
You know? And you dealt with that. And then I think of me and the guys I run around with in this entertainment business, and it's like, oh, this lady in the front row is looking at me sideways. I'll call her an asshole and get her kicked out of the show or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like there's no dealing with anything.
Yeah.
There's no swallowing
Yeah.
anything.
No.
And when you are swallowing shit, you're getting these, you know, paychecks to work on a project or a TV show or a corporate gig or whatever it is.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff we're complaining about. Oh, I got to do a corporate gig. They want me to not say fuck for 35 minutes. Can you believe this shit? That's what we're complaining about.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Whereas you were sitting in an office and a guy's making like blowjob jokes to you, and you're like, I can't believe I have to be here.
Yeah.
I
well,
can't walk
you
away
know.
from this.
No, but you, back then we could, you know, tell them off without somebody saying, oh, you know, she said something bad to her boss or something, you know. But we, you know, nobody thought about the women retaliating
Right.
verbally. You know, it was okay to do that, and
Right.
they just stopped. You know,
Right.
I think today that the kids of today,
Uh-huh.
okay, and back a little bit, not too far back, but back a little bit past your age, okay, that they feel, the parents feel that if they're not in a good situation, you change the situation,
Right.
okay, and get them out of there.
Right.
You know, one of the jobs that I had, which I absolutely loved, was being a secretary in an elementary school. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
And if the children were having problems with the teacher, the parents would come in and demand that the child be taken out of the class. So they're teaching them, if the situation is bad, you'll get out of it. And I believe that relates to why the divorce rate is so high today, because they're in a bad situation, instead of trying to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
they'd say, oh, we'll just get out of it. You know.
Yeah, I've been working on a new bit about that, about how, you know, I used to look at the current generation, sort of MTV. It's once again the MTV generation, strangely enough, and I would look at them and I hated them. because they were entitled and passive aggressive and they were pussies and this and that. And then I realized it's not your fault. Not your fault. It's your parents' fault. Your parents looked at you like they looked at the neighbor's car. It was something to do. It was another thing to obtain. It was a goal on the checklist. It was a status. It was a point of status, and they got you. And then, like everything else in their life, they didn't want to take care of it. They weren't prepared to take care of it, and they try to throw money at a problem. And that's all they do. There's a big fire. Throw money on it till it goes out.
Right.
And therefore, you got these kids that have no concept of anything. They have no work ethic. They have no wherewithal.
Yeah.
I remember somebody telling me a story recently about they were on a writing job, and a girl, a very young girl that was hired, very young, I think about 19, was hired, and she was 10 minutes late to a meeting, and she walked in and said, "Sorry guys, I just, sometimes you just doze off." And they said, they were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But that's like where a lot of people that in that age bracket are coming from now. Like there's no concept of discipline because they never received any home. So it's not their fault.
Right.
Eventually you got to figure it out.
What did I used to do to you when you left your lunch home?
I don't remember.
You went without lunch.
Well, yeah. I don't remember you ever bringing it to school for
No
me.
way.
I also remember.
That's how you teach responsibility.
I'll tell you two things that I admire. The second one you're going to pull back on a little bit. But I'm telling you, it's something I'm happy about. The first is, I remember when I got picked on real bad when I was in 7th grade at the grade school I was in. There was a kid named Greg Murdoch, just a piece of shit of a human being, just one of the worst people. I mean, if he's still alive and not in prison, I'd be floored. I mean, just a horrible, horrible person, even at that age, just bad seed. But I remember that kid picked on me so much. I remember he would do things like he'd swing a metal folding chair right at my face and stop it an inch from my face and then go, "That's what I'd like to do to you. I'd like to smash your fucking head in with this chair." He'd say things like that. You're 7th grade. It was terrifying to me. I would cry and say, "I want to be taken out of the school." And you'd say, "No, you're not going to run away from it. You're not going to leave a whole school because of this one kid. You're going to have to deal with this." And I did. I don't know how I did. I mean, I remember watching him get the shit kicked out of him by two brothers that came to the school. It was one of the greatest ass kickings I've ever seen. He was such an arrogant prick. And these two twin brothers came and they said, "Murdoch, we're here for you." And he leaned in and he goes, "I'll give you guys the first punch." And he, on his cheek, he drew an X and he goes, "X marks the spot." And he got up to the P in spot. And they just pumped. I've never seen somebody get beaten this bad in my life. He was beaten so bad the nuns had to carry him off the schoolyard. His eyes were swollen shut. He was out of school for 3 days. And then he kind of calmed down after that. But you made me deal with it. That's one of the things I'm most appreciative of from growing up. The second is, look, you got hit back then. It's not a secret. You got hit. Dad used to smack me around good.
Oh, yeah, you get hit. That's weak.
You know?
I got hit, so,
I remember I called Mom a bitch once, and you beat me with a stick.
Oh, my God. You make it sound like...
I deserved it. That's what I'm saying.
With a stick.
He beat me with a stick. He was working in the basement. He was doing the table saw in the basement. I didn't think you could hear me because the table saw was going, and I called Mom a bitch. And the table saw stopped. I don't know how you heard it. And you came up with a stick. It was a piece of wood you were cutting, and you were hitting me with the stick. I mean,
maybe you should be thankful he didn't come up with the saw.
Right. Yeah, thank God it was a table saw. But you beat the shit out of me when I would get out of line. I wasn't bleeding or anything like that. I appreciate that. It taught me to keep my mouth. I mean, I still got a big mouth. I still yell when I'm had a few drinks while I back out of the room, because I don't know how to fight. But it taught me discipline. It taught me to keep your mouth shut, that something can happen. You know what I mean? It's a lesson that most guys, I think, learn more from their older brothers. I didn't have older brothers, so I think the older brothers are usually the ones that kind of say, "Don't do that," and keep your mouth shut then, keep this in check, and you better watch Dad and whatever. And they kind of pummel you a little bit. You know what I mean?
We always believe that.
We made all our mistakes on you.
Yeah.
I don't think they were mistakes. It's funny, but I don't think they were mistakes.
We never had another one to figure out those mistakes.
I'm so appreciative that I took some beatings.
Well,
I
that's
really
what
am.
We believe that when you deserve to get a smack or hit, you're going to get it. Do something wrong, and this is the way you learn from these things. And you become better for it. I think. I see a lot of kids today. They're such wimps and things because don't do that. That's not right. Instead of giving them a good smack, and so they, where are they? I don't know. It's just the thing that.
I was thinking about
kids.
the time. I was thinking about the time we were riding in the car with your friend Dominic, and you were talking some stuff that I didn't like what you were saying,
Bad words.
and you had that tape in your hand,
It was a CD. It was
CD.
the Ghetto Boys CD
Yeah.
called "We Can't Be Stopped."
Yeah.
right? And I told you to stop talking that way.
Yeah.
And what?
You said, I'm going to throw that CD out the window. And I said, yeah, right. And you threw it out the window.
Right. It's out on the high school lawn. I saw it.
And I was upset because I stole that CD from the Sam Goody at the mall. Me and my friend
God.
Kevin stole that CD. And then I had to go. I don't know how I got a new copy. I think I had to wait till I had money to buy it. I have it still in the other
Do
room.
you?
Yeah, I have another copy of it.
I can remember Dominic's mouth opening. He was so shocked to see that I threw the CD out the window.
Yeah, it was a different time, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
there are still parents. And here's the thing: if I ever have kids, I don't know if I would smack them or not. I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks, at a certain age, a kid's kind of like a dog. Like it doesn't understand. It only understands action reaction. So if you don't, a 2-year-old, you don't slap it on the ass. So then how's it going to understand that the thing's bad?
Right.
But I know there are a million studies and practices that say you don't have to do that anymore. So I don't know what I would do if I had kids, if I would believe in giving them a little smack here and there or not. But I will say that I do appreciate that I came from the era of getting the shit knocked out of you.
Corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment.
I mean, I was in Catholic school for 12 years. I just barely missed when they could hit you. We had a priest that would smack you in the back of the head with his class. He would turn the class ring around. He wore a class ring on his left hand. He would turn it around so the stone was on the inside, on the palm side, and he'd hit you in the back of the head if you weren't paying attention. He'd come up behind you, and you couldn't do that now.
No.
You couldn't do that now. Nuns would drag you out of your seats. I mean, I just barely missed the corporal punishment phase of the Catholic schooling or whatever. So, I mean, but it was, I don't know. I thought it was fine. I mean, I guess now looking back, maybe it wasn't, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
if the parents found out we did something wrong in school, we would get it double when we got home. That was it.
yeah, well, like Mom was saying earlier, now the parents go to the school and say, what's the problem with this teacher? With me, it was always, what did you do?
That's right.
Exactly. What did you do?
What did you do?
I bet the one day you got suspended. I agreed with the nun.
Yeah. Right.
That's right.
Yeah, because I flipped my desk over in class. Yeah, and we got this. I always had a temper, Ernie.
Yeah, what did we say? Good for you. Now you're out of school for
Now
a day,
you're
right?
out for a couple days.
You still got to do your homework, right?
I never understood why that was a punishment.
But
Tell the kid to stay home for a few days. I mean, that
Yeah, I know.
seemed like a great break to
More
me.
punishment on the parents than anything.
But most of our great times that we've ever had is with family.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. Well,
laughter, joking. You know,
we still have a great family, but we had an even greater family. We've lost a lot of people.
young
But
people.
I mean, yeah, very young. I always, people, we lost Uncle John at 59,
5.
55.
Yep, I think so.
Aunt Enika was what, 54,
Four.
5, 6, somewhere in there. Uncle Tony was 62,
Five.
maybe 65.
65, you're 65.
Yeah,
I mean, this is all very young.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dad, we already said you and Uncle John came from the same family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's one of the funniest people I ever knew.
Oh, yeah.
Comedy wise, that's where I learned how to tell stories and stuff. Because I remember the way you and Uncle John would tell funny vacation stories at, like, when we get together for dinner or whatever, you guys would tell story. And I remember thinking, this was a very early thought I had as a teenager. If I could make my uncle and my dad laugh, then I maybe might be truly a funny person. That was like one of the first seeds I had with comedy, because you guys told the stories and made everybody laugh. You know what I mean? And then Mom, I learned, it was like, I remember tons of memories about, like when I was never a sports guy. When the guys would go watch sports, football, Thanksgiving, whatever it was, I'd always sit in the room, the dining room with you and all the aunts, and Aunt Sammy and everybody, just sit around and talk around the table, which, can you believe I'm not gay? I can't believe it. But because that's what I like to do. I like to talk with the women, and I mean, to this day, I have such an appreciation for the females in my life and my female friends. I have a lot of female friends. That, I think, really comes from that. I always really enjoy talking to women. I like talking to guys, too.
I know we could always talk, no matter what the subject was.
Absolutely.
We always talked.
Absolutely. And I always appreciated, too, the laughter. You guys, you and Aunt Sammy and Aunt Joanne and Aunt Enika, there was always a lot of laughter. And that's good, It's those are really, really great memories. I will say, we talked about the bad memories in the old house. I can't remember better memories than the holidays that we all spent together. Very
some good ones.
Fun, very loud.
And we're still having them.
We still are, yeah.
With the people who are still here, we're still having them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was always, Uncle Brian, who was Aunt Enika's husband, still here. Aunt Sammy, who was Uncle John's wife, still here. Aunt Joanne, who was Uncle Tony. So, we still have one half of the equations. And, so it's still great. But those are my best memories. It was always loud, always a lot of laughter. And honestly, I would think when I started to want to be a comic, if I could make these people laugh like this, if I could make any people laugh like this would be it. But I would keep that all inside and never talk. I was always so quiet. That's why when I started doing comedy, everybody said, "What are you talking about? You don't ever say anything to anybody."
Yeah.
You're
very introverted as a child.
You kept it
very
all in,
introverted.
Yeah.
But then extroverted outside. I get very introverted around the family still. I had terrible discomfort about doing this today because I didn't know if I'd be able to get into like my podcast mode with you guys. Because I get weird with it. I don't know why. I've never admitted that to you before.
I think it went well.
It did. It went great. But it's easier. It's easier for me to do a show that you guys are at than it is for me to have sometimes a one-on-one discussion, because there's a safety zone on stage where you can kind of get lost in it. We do always talk. I don't mean to make it sound like we don't, but as much as I always in the early stages of comedy wanted to make everybody laugh, I don't think I ever really tried to until they came to shows and stuff. I still wasn't the guy, trying to run the table at Christmas time or anything, So I don't know. That's, for what it's worth, you inspired it in me, and then I hid it from you until you you came to a show. So I mean, I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
Well, it was good to be here, be with you, to do this.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it.
Good.
So it's a good thing. We could do it and share our thoughts, our memories with you.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. And it's here forever. That's it. This exists forever now, which is to me the coolest part of all this. I say all the time, we all miss Patrice so much. I don't think any of us can believe he's gone still. And one thing that I'm so thankful for is that all the years and time he spent on radio, predominantly Opie and Anthony, it's all documented. It's all there on YouTube. And I feel so privileged that I got to be part of some of those things. And it's really nice to, when you miss your friend, to go on to a website and find hours and hours and hours of video and audio too, mostly audio. I mean, because we're talking about radio, and you can just listen to it and you say, that's it. He's here forever. It's captured.
Yeah.
He's here in at least in a certain interpretation. And I think that's what's so cool about doing these kinds of things. And that's why I'm so happy we got to do this, because this is now here forever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's memories. That's family memories.
It's memories, yep.
Yep.
So thank you for doing it.
You're welcome. It was our
Yes.
pleasure.
Yeah, we usually
It was
have
our
people
pleasure.
plug things. Do you want to? You want to plug?
Next week I'll be appearing in the kitchen in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. And no, we're both retired now. We live boring lives. We're getting a new bumper sticker made next week.
We're going to get a bumper sticker made. It says, I'm retired and I'm not in a hurry.
Good. All right. Do you want to plug your church, Dan?
Well, I belong to
Do that.
St. Eleanor Church in Collegeville, and it's a great church. Our pastor is Monsignor Sweeney, a very good pastor for the church and the people of St. Eleanor's parish, and we're doing great there. So we have a good population. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye, Joe.
The three of us had that dynamic where you guys pushed me, and I feel like I maybe pushed you back.
Right.
There's certain things. I mean, we watched Dave Attell the other night on HBO, and you were laughing hysterically. I mean, there was a time where if I showed you any kind of comedy of that content, you would have said, "Shut this off. This offends me."
Turn it
Right.
off.
And you had a great time watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I brought to the table, Ernie, with my parents. Well, I got them to like Dave Attell's comedy. They shaped me into a man, and I got them to like. But he is the greatest. So
But I mean, you made us grow
right.
through that too. We came out of our shells, and someone once said, "It's not when I see you on stage. It's not what you do; it's who you are." Okay, and there are things that make my hair curl when I hear you on stage, but then I think that's
Do you remember?
Hey, he's a great guy. What can I do?
You came to see years ago. I opened for Colin Quinn at Helium, and I remember at the time I was closing with a really, really nasty joke. It was real dirty, sex joke. And
Did you hear me gasp in the audience?
I remember. Well, this is what I remember. I walked off stage. I went into the green room and I said, "Man, I feel bad about that last closer. It's just so dirty." And my parents are sitting out there. And Colin said, "Screw your parents. What about me?" But I remember after that show, you guys came up to me and said that you had a great time, and you were with your best friends, and they said, I remember Mr. Marcello, who's you and the Marcellos are your best friends.
They are, yes.
But Mr. Marcello came up to me and said there was nothing wrong with anything you said up there.
Yeah.
And that's a big moment for a comedian with his parents and his parents' friends when they say it's okay, we accepted it.
If that's true, how come they never came to see you again?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They came again, yeah.
They were there again.
Okay.
They came another time without you guys. I think you guys were living in Florida or something.
Oh, wow.
And I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. You weren't there though.
Probably were in Florida.
They came alone and sat right in the front row. I literally have no common blood with anybody I know or love. That's one of the stipulations of being adopted. But I don't care because I know guys I met in comedy clubs within the last 3 years that I'd take a bullet for. And I have cousins, on the other hand, that I've known since I was 0 that I wouldn't let in my house if it was raining outside. So it all evens out. And that's what family's for, keeping you even. Keeping you sane when nothing in the world has any rationale or logic. They're the people that are there for you. And that's why they're the people that haunt you. Because only someone that truly cares about you and understands you knows exactly how to get into your head and start pushing all the right buttons. So, I'd like to now introduce the most topic-appropriate guests we have ever had on this show, my parents. And I usually like to list off my guests' credits when I introduce them, but how do you list off your parents' credits without it sounding like some kind of cold but factual Wikipedia entry? So I'll just simply say these are two people that I don't know how I'd live or function without. They've taught me everything I know. They've inspired me beyond belief, and in my darkest and likable moments. I'm talking most unlikable moments. They loved me unconditionally. So the next time one of you angry audience members wants to heckle me because you can't believe my audacity on stage, don't blame me. Blame them. It's their fault for causing me to believe in myself. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good. Sweating.
You
What?
kind of
Yeah.
started off with a oxymoron when you said that this was a positive feed today and the subject is family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, you're comfortable already. You thought you were going to be nervous.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I
It's
am.
easy. This is easy stuff. Just talking. Well, I'm glad you said that because this is a thing that I deal with when I talk to people. I say, a lot of people say to me, you're negative. I say, I'm not negative. I just see things how I see them and then react to them in what I think is an honest way to react. And they say, well, it's negative. I say, it's not negative. It's just, I prefer to think of it as just seeing things for the actual way they are. But
It's
We-
negative.
that's and again, we're really supportive, but that's, an extension of you guys.
Hmm.
Because
You
they know who you are deep inside. They know the man that you are and the good person you are inside. And this is part of your talent that you can make people laugh, and the way you do it, and it's really a good thing.
Well, thanks.
So,
I should bring you
Yeah.
on stage before every show to tell the people I'm a good person. Well, I mean, and we, this is the thing I want to, translate to the audience before we get too deep into this. My parents and I come from we have very different outlooks on things. I come from a very religious family. My dad is a deacon in the
Yes.
Catholic Church, which for those that don't understand or realize what that is, it's one step below priest. Literally one step below priest. In fact, Dad, you've said to
Yes.
me before, if Mom passed away, you would consider going all the way and becoming a priest. You've said that to me, which
Good, yeah.
you're right there. I mean, whether you do or not is whatever, but
Another
that's
thing.
just how close you are to it, that you could go couple more steps and you're right there,
We could, yes.
theoretically, right?
Theoretically, yes.
My mom is also religious. Was a Eucharistic minister, which means she's one of the people that would give out the communion in the church, body of Christ, that sort of thing, and also pretty religious. You've been married for 44 years. Friday it was, right?
Friday, 44
Yeah.
years, yes.
44 years. You were each other's first loves,
First,
basically, right? Dad was your
Mine.
second. Your first.
she was my first love, yeah.
Your first love.
Right, yeah.
Right. And then you had a boyfriend before Dad.
Yeah,
But only one, right?
one.
So, you're pretty, this is pretty much the first thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So here you are, two religious people,
Mhm.
had basically the same, stayed in the same profession your whole lives. Very routine, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Basically the same age, about a year apart, not even, right?
I robbed the cradle.
Yeah, Mom's 6
Yeah.
months older.
6 months older, right?
Yeah.
And very traditional background and
Oh, yeah.
whatnot. And then, obviously I'm not a big believer when it comes to faith and God and that sort of thing. Today's podcast is brought to you by something positive for a change. Why? Because my parents are here.
Down with Joe DeRosa.
Welcome to Down with Joe DeRosa. One topic, 1 hour, and today we discuss family. Family has always been such a strange and sacred concept to me. Strange because it's a group of people that you're literally born into, so it's a lifelong commitment. Anytime you're born into something, it means for life. Tribes, royalty, or a 5-decade spanning carpet cleaning business, you belong to it, and it belongs to you, so you can't shake it. You're stuck with your family, whether you like it or not. And trust me on that, they'll always be with you in body and or spirit. Even the people that do their absolute damnedest to cut all ties and kill all contact with their family are still often burdened by the mountainous emotional baggage they carry from their past. Nobody ever thinks about that one degrading boss they had at some office job. The one that pinched your ass and didn't get in trouble for it. That's a fading memory. People barely remember their high school sweetheart, or that she dumped you for that football player you couldn't stand. Nope, that's gone from your mind. And nobody ever pays any thought to that past asshole neighbor, the guy that broke one of your windows and then moved away without ever paying for it. Nope, not thinking about it. But none of us will ever forget that thing that our dad or our mom or our aunt or our nana or whoever said at Thanksgiving in 1983 that made us feel so angry and so insecure, it still fuels our every motivation to find success. That's weird. Family sticks with you, but that's what makes it so incredibly sacred to me. I think primarily because I'm adopted. That's why I find it so sacred. Anytime you realize that you came damn close to living out your days in a trash can at a prom, or in a dumpster behind a crab shack, or maybe just on the insides of a medical vacuum cleaner, you start to greatly appreciate the fact that there were people that not only loved you, but actually raised and supported you as well. I know I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for the push my parents and my cousins and my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles gave me. My friends, too. Yeah, they're family. So I guess it's not always something you're born into. Family's something that's perpetually expanding, with new members joining the alumni all the time. Because I don't subscribe to all that blood is thicker than water bullshit. I can't. That's where we come from. I mean, we grew up in a very honest household is what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people would say we fight, we argue.
Sure.
Well, definitely we fight, we argue.
Well,
yeah.
first of all, we have.
Like,
First of all, I guess we have to explain that we're an Italian family. So
Yeah, we are.
That should answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's an Italian family, very loud family, right?
A lot goes on, a lot of hot feelings, a lot of heavy feelings that bring out the worst sometimes, and cause arguments, right?
But we said now, I think it was about a year ago, we got into some fight about something, and I said to you after, I said, you know what? We have these arguments, and then we have these big makeup sessions where we say, we got to change, we got to stop, the whole thing. And then I said, this is just how we are. It's not a big deal. It's how we talk to each other. We get through it. Nobody ever says, I mean, I'm not saying we don't ever hurt each other when we argue. All people do.
Verbally.
Verbally. Yeah. Nobody's beating.
No.
beating anybody.
No physical abuse.
But I mean, there's no name calling and stuff like that. It's just loud and abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said to you, like about a year ago, maybe this is just how we are. I'd rather it be that way than, I mean, these people I see that are always smiling and getting along, they freak me out. I don't understand that.
No.
They push everything under the rug. They
have to be
they
honest
cover it up.
with each other.
Right. Yeah.
So, like I said, as much as we argue and maybe fight back and forth, that we always make up in the end and try to get back on the track again, and never have any hurt feelings or resentments or hold grudges with each other. We're always, very loving when at the end, a makeup session,
I think the most important thing of that is that we come to understand each other better and respect each other.
Yes, I agree. I grow from that.
Yes.
I talk to my friends about their parents a lot, and they never understand when I say that I challenge my parents back.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "What do you mean?" Because they'll complain about their parents. They'll say, "Oh, this is just how they are, and I can't deal with it, and so I just don't." And I say, "Well, why don't you just challenge them the way they challenge you?
Mm-hmm.
They love you, so they challenge you. If they think you're not being the person you should be, you should challenge your parents back." And I always like that.